Hello, everyone who is joining in for this month's virtual tour of intentional communities. So glad you're here to join us. My name is Cynthia. I am one of the co-directors with the Foundation for Intentional Community, FIC. And I'm joined today by a few founders and residents of intentional communities from different parts of the world, actually. Today we have Richard from Lightning Ranch in Texas and Nara calling in from Sunny Hills in Slovenia. And we have one more panelist who is on the way calling in from a community in California. So once again, it's a wonderful mix of different types and styles of intentional community. So we are going to start with Nara from Sunny Hills of Istria. And full disclosure, Nara and I actually are in a relationship. We've been together for 5 years, and I have spent many wonderful months at this community, Sunny Hills of Istria. And I'm just really excited that Nara is here today and can share about a community that is so near and dear to my heart. And then we'll go to Richard at Lightning Ranch Ecovillage in Texas. And then hopefully Dan will be joining us to share about Maitreya Mountain Village in California. And so the format is going to be that each presenter has 10 minutes, followed by 5-ish minutes of Q&A. So really be thinking about your questions, put those questions in the Q&A box, and yeah, I'll try to get to as many of them as I can. And the live session, we can write to you in the Q&A box with answers. Sound good? Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And Nara, hello and welcome. Really glad you're here.
So I will just say a few words as an introduction, and then we have a video which was recently recorded by actually a volunteer who was staying with us, and she's from the United States. Her name is Olivia, and I found that her presentation was really, really beautiful. So we decided to show that video to you first. And it's self-explanatory, so I don't think I need to explain much. The video says it all, but then later you can ask questions and we'll see where it takes us.
Sunny Hill is situated in the hinterlands of Slovenia and Istria. It's at the top of a hill, 450 meters above the sea level, with a view of Trieste Bay. I can see on a clear day all the way to Venice in Italy. Then to the south, you can see some hills toward the central Istria in Croatia. We attempt at living voluntary simplicity and with permaculture principles to a certain degree. We don't sacrifice ourselves by having less. We actually can have much more by not carrying all the burdens of the modern lifestyle.
It's a beautiful place with amazing views all around. Very quiet, you know. There you could hear just nature voices, you know. There is no this. Sometimes you heard some farmer, you know, but it's maybe once, twice a month, some tractor and that kind of voices, but all other are just nature. There is not so much places like this. Permaculture are principles, you know, how you look on land, how there are relations between you and the environment around you, and how to organize everything. So also your social life, so your everyday living, and of course working with land in such a way that you don't suffer and the earth doesn't suffer, you know. I don't think that much people ask themselves what I really need to be happy, you know. That's the main problem. They just follow the mainstream, you know. I have to go shopping twice, 3 times or 4 times a week. I have to buy this, I have to buy this. I have to get nice car. I have to do for the house. I have to do for 14 days of vacation on sea. I have to work for 1 week vacation on snow, and that's it, you know, that's all life. And then after 20, 30 years of that kind of life, you maybe ask if this is this, you know, what you want in your life. Well, there are some workshops about permaculture, about these social processes, about building communities.
Actually, we do depend on each other, and the stronger the glue between the people is, then the more they can help each other.
I really like this, our meals together, you know, and cooking for everybody twice, 4 times a week. It depends how many we are. We talk around meals, you know, what shall we do and how we will do, and then everybody do some little piece.
Typically, throughout the year, even in the winter, when you cook lunch, you go to the garden, you pick whatever is there, and you make dinner or lunch or whatever you cook.
So I think that we are somehow servant of this land, you know, because we get this land, you know, this is everything what we have, you know, that we could live, you know. Special is this, that so different bunch of people live in one house, you know, share kitchen, cooking for each other, and that we are still here, you know, that we are not going around with guns and shooting on each other. If you want to change something, you have to do something, you know, concrete, you know. You couldn't just talk and read about this. You have to step out of your comfort zone and do something, and that's it.
were some questions asked. You can check the answers. I don't know how they are visible to other people. There was a question about the start. Maybe I would just say very briefly about it. I think most communities kind of start with some enthusiasm, with some motivation that's rooted in certain values, and that's how it was with us. We had a vision of luxurious simplicity expressed in a way to showcase how we can live together and create spaces of simplicity and joy. And we found this amazing place, really gorgeous location, and went to work with tons of volunteers and endless hours that we invested in this. And then, 7 years, 8 years later, there is this thing alive and offering inspiration to many people who live there and come by.
Great. Any other questions for Nara about the community in Slovenia? And we do have another question. What is the long-range plan for this community? Is there a maximum size? How often do residents get off-site? Can they go to nearby cities to visit?
Well, I'm checking now I'm seeing the question. So yeah, we are actually very interesting community because we are very connected with a broader community. So it's not just this little bubble of a few of us. We have a network across the region. So the long-range plan is working with all the other people who we share ideas with, so that this can grow into a regenerative project across the region, not just in this micro location where we are situated. But we bought another house, and there is more houses coming where there will be more room for expansion. We're doing it slowly. It's Slovenia. We're joking sometimes that for us things don't evolve very quickly like here in the US. But it can grow much faster. But anyway, the second question was the members and volunteers. When you come, you're a part of the community. That's it. We prefer long-term volunteers because it's much easier to develop relationships and to have them on board, like as equal, almost like practically equal members deciding about things and flowing along with the community. And as far as energy goes, there's the next question about energy resource. We are plugged in. We don't have solar, but we are using local wood for heating, and we use all the water we collect from the roof and recycle it for watering the garden. And we are very, very frugal energy-wise. So that's our approach to sustainability of our project.
Great.
I see more questions coming. Hoping to have individual units for families and single rooms as well. We had conflicts in the past and emotional tools we used. Some worked, some didn't. When you live in a community, you learn about it. You see how nothing works for everyone and everything cannot work. But you just have to find out some ways, to deal with these things. And I'm happy that FIC offers some tools which you can use, so many courses and seminars that you can learn how to deal with it.
Great.
I don't think I have enough time to go on, but I can engage and give answers in written material.
Yeah, let's do just a few more. I'll pick the ones that I think will be most pertinent for the whole group. I think something that has come up a lot in these virtual tours is how communities handle interpersonal dynamics, especially difficult ones. And there's a question here, if you have any specific practices, maybe spiritual practices or emotional tools, facilitation techniques that you use for navigating difficulty.
Well, I should mention that in Europe, we have amazing support from European Commission programs that then allows us to connect across Europe and define programs that we use as, in our case, Global Ecovillage Network. And one of the programs which we designed together over the last 5-6 years is called CLIPS. It's Community Learning Incubator Program for Sustainability. And it's easiest for me to answer it this way because that's like a toolbox that we are using. It's not just picking one tool and we follow it always. We have a whole toolbox that we use depending on the situation. And I can share also, if people are interested, the link to it.
Yeah, please share if you have that handy. I was just trying to look it up myself. That is an amazing resource, the CLIPS Community Learning Incubator Program.
Yep. I'll just share it in chat if you don't mind. There it is. It's clips.gen-europe.org.
Yeah, I love how Europe, especially institutional levels, seem to be really supportive of community and intentional community development. It's awesome. Good. I think we've got to most of the questions. Oh, there's a quick question about income sharing and cottage industry.
Yeah, income sharing. Well, we are independent, but we have our so-called, we call it magic jar. We borrowed it a little bit from the Rainbow family. They have magic hat, and our economy for the household runs with this. So you basically contribute on the basis of, what do they call it, of a balance. You know, what I feel is appropriate given my income and so on. And we are doing well. We have normally some surplus, which we can then use for other purposes. Otherwise, we have also, you pay for the room, you pay for the, like, there is a way of running economy with guests and with, there's a lot in the background, so I cannot explain all the details, but this detail about magic jar is, I think, valuable for people, that you can run it on the basis of trust, not necessarily like charging people for how much they should contribute. And people really like to give. They even sometimes give more than what they would give if they were charged, because they like how we trust.
Nice. Yeah, but the community itself is not income sharing. You all have your own jobs for the most part.
Yeah. I stressed it in the beginning. We are independent. We have our own incomes. We are standing on our own, but we contribute to the common household in this way.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, and one thing, I don't know if it came across so clearly in the video, but those buildings that you saw in the video are like 200 years old. And the community has been slowly, like with volunteers, restoring this ancient village and bringing life back to this community that was mostly abandoned over generations. So yeah, it's a really sweet place. Thank you so much, Nara, and thank you everyone for your wonderful questions. Nara will be going into the Q&A box and answering any of them that we may have missed. But yeah, so much appreciation. And welcome, Dan. I see you. I'm glad that you can be here with us. Hi. We're gonna go to Richard next, and then we'll do you last. So going over now, crossing the ocean from Europe to Richard at Lightning Ranch in Texas. Welcome.
Welcome. So we're going to have 4 people talk here. I'm the founder, Richard Weaver, and I bought this ranch in 2018. So, well, actually we got started in 2019. So we're 3 years old. I noticed that the previous community had 3 full-time members, and I think we actually have 1 member more than that. So after 3 years, we've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, we've got 5 full-time members. And that's been quite a challenge to get members. I'm going to move right into the slideshow. And then that takes 4 minutes. And then Diana Anthony, my partner, is going to say some words. And then Roman, a community member that's been here for almost a year, is going to tell you how exciting it's been to live here. And then Lance has been here for 6 months and his take on our community. So with this, I'm going to start the slideshow. So just a little bit of other introduction. I'm 72 years old. I ran an engineering company, an electrical engineering company, for almost 25 years. And now in my retirement, I'm sharing my energy and my retirement income to try to make this successful. This Earthship started it all. The picture of the Earthship there, I built it in 2002. It is on this ranch, but it was built long before this was a community. It's fully off-grid, built with tire walls. It embraces all the attributes of sustainability: passive solar heating, solar electricity, rainwater collection, composting toilets, gray water processing, and a planter. In 2018, I purchased the rest of the ranch to create this intentional community. During the previous 15 years, I evolved a communal garden in Bozeman, Montana with 30 volunteer members. The garden's success gave me the confidence to try and create a much larger Texas eco-agrohood community. One of my mentors is Charles Eisenstein. I don't know if any of you are familiar with him, but he talks about the more beautiful world our hearts know is possible. And he talks about the seemingly impossible bridge between our civilization's old story and a new story. He talks of the space between stories as both frightening because we don't know what will happen, but at the same time full of possibility. I can't think of a better way to go into the future than in community. Here's two contrasting pictures of our ranch. Now we're in rural Texas, right on the edge between a rainier, wetter area and desert. On the left is looking out of our communal house. On the right is looking down into one of our canyons. Looks very much like Utah and Arizona. We have all this beautiful red clay. Here's our communal house. Creating a well-running, stable community is priority number one. And the hub of our community is the communal house. Here's a view inside. On the left is the great room where we meet for retreats, including yoga, qigong, dance nights, movie nights, and other recreational and educational activities. This house also has a big communal kitchen, bathrooms, and 4 bedrooms. Growing healthy food is priority number 2 for Lightning Ranch. We have created a 1-acre vegetable garden watered from a well with a solar pump. We had to build an 8-foot fence to keep the deer and the wild pigs out. The other part of our agricultural operation are the animals, and we're just getting started on this. We have 30 acres that we're going to turn into intensive grazing. When I bought the ranch, it was in really bad shape, and we're now restoring our pastures with native perennial grasses. We plan on doing intensive grazing operations with goats, cows, and chickens. We're going to move this every day. It'll be contained in electric fence. This mimics how bison graze the Great Plains. It's the Joel Salatin Gabe Brown method for those of you that know about intensive grazing. Creating healthy, sustainable housing is priority number 3 for Lightning Ranch. We have beautiful clay, which we're using to build our earth bag tiny homes. First, we dig a trench and fill with gravel to build a foundation. Next come the coil of bags filled with our clay. 2 strands of barbed wire are placed between each layer of bags. A center pole with 7-foot arm forms a compass used to keep our walls round and vertical. The roof is conventional wood construction, but tricky with all those angles. The cob stucco is made from 2 parts sifted clay from our own clay and 3 parts masonry sand. The outside finish includes a lime cement plaster over chicken wire over the clay cob to prevent washing off. We don't get a lot of rain, but sometimes we get torrential rains. Here is the gray water drain field being installed. No black water is generated. We use homemade urine separating composting toilets that you see on the right. The one beautiful thing about Texas is we have no zoning laws. We need no building permits. We can do anything we want except for septic systems. And since we're using mostly composting toilets, we currently only have one septic system. We need rain though. Priority number 4 here is rain. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Diana, and she's going to tell you a little bit about the ranch from her perspective.
Hi, I'm Diana, and I have something to say more from the human point of view. I'm going to be reading, so I won't be looking at you all the time. We humans came to be in an intimate social environment, tribes and villages. I have been blessed to have a close enough approximation of this kind of supportive environment for much of my life. Even large institutions break down into human scale, where people find opportunity for the social bonding that supports well-being. I was most appreciative of this in 1998, when a divorce left me with 3 young children to raise. A community of several hundreds on the banks of the Yellowstone River, just 6 miles north from Yellowstone National Park, was our refuge for 7 years. We shared beliefs that included being responsible for producing much of our own food by gardening, hunting, ranching. We had chicken operations, turkey operations, and we shared beliefs that included being responsible. Oh, I said that. And it included things like holistic lifestyle. So we grew a number of herbs and we processed those for medicine, cooking together, recreation, respect for nature and each other, and mutual aid. And at that time, locals were admitted to Yellowstone Park for free. So we often went every weekend to enjoy the park. But we left there to settle into university student housing because I wanted to get a degree in psychology. And that was still a community of sorts. And after that brief incursion into suburban nuclear family living. And my experience there and underscore the appropriateness of the term nuclear families, because sometimes often they go kaboom. And I found that I didn't do well with the isolation of suburban living. I do better when I have community. And so I moved on to another little village. So with the acceleration of what I call vampire capitalism's wealth divide and institutional domination of human life, many people are looking for an alternative to that kind of experience. And so with the rise of tiny home culture, agrihoods, community gardens, local food and farmers markets, it seems that our venture at Lightning Ranch is set to become a refuge for a few brave souls. We think that with proper regenerative farming, we can support a community of 20 to 25 adults. And what I want for Lightning Ranch community is soulful men and women who love the earth as they love themselves. So anyone who wants to come rain dance with us, come on. And hand you over to Roman.
Hello guys, we playing musical chairs here. You know, as a one presenter stops speaking, we coming to the next. Now, public speaking, and it's not my best trade, so bear with me. Usually when I sign up for my IC webinars, I would go by Magical Unicorn, but Richard already said that it's Roman, so I'm gonna go like Roman. And he also said, he mentioned how excited I am. So yes, definitely. But before that, I would like to express my personal gratitude to you, Cynthia, for doing your extensive work and helping people to find their communities, as well as your personal help to me back in August of 2020. So freedom is the most important aspect of my life. I'm extremely grateful to be a part of Lightning Ranch for almost a year, where I can exercise my right. I'm also extremely grateful for Lightning Ranch located in the state of Texas that is free from masking and vaccine mandates. I'm from Chicago, Illinois, so I know what the opposite is. I think one of my important inputs into this specific community growth is bringing awareness that new member questionnaire needs to be more like a magnifying glass into a person's soul, the state of mind, spiritual beliefs, and the openness to new concepts and ideas. Also bringing an awareness that our universe is abundant with plenty of potential members that will align with our current beliefs and community requirements. One of the most important aspects is taking responsibility. We are responsible for any bad or good happening in our life. We can be creators of our lives, but we can be also destroyers. Simple example of creator versus destroyer is you are sitting at home, you're watching TV, you're watching the news about so-called pandemic. You start worrying about your life, the life of your loved ones, your stress level goes up, your immune system goes down. Your possibility of manifesting the illness is very high. Now, what would creator say? The creator would say an affirmative statement that his immune system is fully capable of taking care of the body. The creator would also ask questions. What is the state of the immune system? And if there is anything that needs to be done. This is taking personal responsibility for your health and life, which we strive to embody in Lightning Ranch. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, hello everybody. So my name is Lance. I've been with Lightning Ranch now for about half a year, as Richard said. And so whereas the other members here have experience in farming and gardening and construction, building, and community life in general at some point, I'm a total newbie to this all. I came from a science and research background, and I worked behind an office. I worked in an office most of the time and behind screens the majority of the time. And I was suffering from depression and drug abuse, but hiding it from everybody. And ironically, maintaining and priding myself on my independence and that I was contributing something real to the world with my climate research. And also defending my prior belief of non-belief or atheism. So all of this completely shifted as I went through a series of spiritual awakenings and healings the past couple years that changed my perspective and path in life significantly for the better. I won't get into all the details, but suffice it to say, I finally awakened to the interconnectedness of all of life, and as well as new beliefs that we are all here as brothers and sisters to commune, collaborate, grow together through the evolution of consciousness, rather than what modern society will have us commonly believe that to separate, to individuate, to compete, and even stifle one another is a measure of one's achievement and success in life. This disconnection from each other, from nature, from our higher power, from even ourselves, is what I believe is at the root of most people's woes and dis-ease, contributing to the rapid demise of health and well-being for all. This community is providing the opportunity to strive for improved health and well-being for all, to live this beautiful, natural, interconnected reality I believe we're supposed to, like our indigenous ancestors did, by striving to be self-sufficient, yet in harmony with everything around us and all of life. So in addition to the farming and infrastructure practices y'all just heard about, Lightning Ranch also puts great emphasis on health and well-being. We incorporate community health hours, as y'all heard, where all members come together for Qigong, exercise, breathwork, yoga, or intentional energy exercises. And we have plans to build out a wellness and healing center to host retreats and focus on education of what we've all been talking about here in our experiences, as well as having healing and wellness for attendees, guests, and members alike. So Lightning Ranch also provides the ability and flexibility to contribute to community projects and goals while also maintaining your own business to support yourself in the community. For example, I am able to balance maintaining my work and clientele as an energy healer while also enjoying all the aspects and projects the community life has to offer. And Roman here, as you just saw, also works similarly as a professional massage therapist. So this is a win-win for all of us involved. It fosters personal goals and skills to support yourself in the community rather than a competition or bottleneck of limitations. So time is short and I think I'm already running over. So I'll just finish by saying that choosing to join a community and especially Lightning Ranch was one of the best decisions of my life. It's not all peace and bliss all the time, but the conflicts and situations that arise are very great teachers and bond us all that much more. I have acquired more new skills and learned more valuable lessons these past 6 months than I have in any other living situation in my life. And I'm also grateful to live in my own natural earth bag tiny home, like y'all saw in the pictures before. Living and sleeping in a makeshift womb of Mother Earth is one of the most amazing things in my life. And it also supports a minimalistic lifestyle away from materialism I have come to really enjoy. So overall, Lightning Ranch has provided so much, and at the core has allowed me to shift my life so that I can focus on what's important to me, which is communing, building, growing, and healing in harmony with all, getting back to being connected within and without, and to achieve a better life and path moving forward for all. Thank you.
So one of the things that was requested was, what does it take to join our community? And this slide, let me, right, because it's already happening somewhere. At any rate, they can see it from there.
Okay.
Our requirements to join right now, and it's changing as we learn the mistakes we're making. But right now, you write a letter of intent, we send you and you fill out a questionnaire, then you participate in a Zoom interview. If all of that goes well, then you come for a 3-day initial stay in our Airbnb. If that works out, you do a 3-week work commitment, and we figure out how you're going to fit in, how various things like where you're going to live, how are you going to meet your personal needs. And then we review at the end of 3 weeks. And if it didn't work out, then you're asked to leave. Then you're still not a member for 3, 6, and 12 months, but there's a review period at the end of each of those. If it looks like a good fit, then at the end of 12 months, you'll become a member of Lightning Ranch. And as I said, our membership process is evolving, but this is what we're doing right now, and it's working fairly well.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Richard, and everyone all of your people there who shared about your community. And it was especially nice to see Roman again. I didn't recognize you at first, and I was like, oh, wow, you made it. You made it into a community. I'm so happy to hear that. And see it. Yeah, hey, beautiful. Well, thank you all so much. That was a wonderful presentation. And we do have some questions for you. People have been putting in all kinds of questions. Do you encourage visitors? Showed your membership process, but what about people who don't want to live there? They just want to visit.
They would be more than welcome. They would need to rent one of our Airbnb rooms. And then we would give them a tour of all of our houses, our farming operations. We are right now renting out our 4 bedrooms in the Sky House to earn some extra income to get this community launched. We're not planning on doing that in the long run, but right now we're doing that. So any visitors would be required to rent a room, and with that, they would get a full tour of our operation.
Okay, nice. Okay, folks, so if you want to take a vacation in sunny Texas, you know where to go. And let's see what else we have. Can you share a little bit more about your leadership and governance structure?
Right now, we have a rectangular round table. And every morning, we meet at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock this time of year because it's dark in the morning. And with a round table discussion, all the members talk about what we want to do, both in the long term and for the day and for the week. So it's currently a consensus-based operation. So, you know, as I said, we're building houses, we're putting in farming operations, we're doing Qigong and things like that. And with the 6 members, it's a consensus, at this point, consensus around our square roundtable.
Nice. Square roundtable. I like it. And that's a good segue to my next question. What does a day look like for any one of you individually or collectively? Sounds like you start off in the morning with a meeting, and then what does a day look like from there?
Right. And some days we start off with Qigong and yoga, but we either start off with a meeting or we start off with group Qigong and yoga currently. And then people that are going to work in the garden head off to the garden. Well, right now we're so small that usually the group either goes to the garden to work on the garden, or we go to one of the tiny houses, and we're still finishing one up, and we'll go out as a group and work on the tiny home. But also Lance, as you heard, he only works on community projects part-time. And then the other part-time, he actually has his own healing business. And he pays some rent in lieu of work. And each time we take on a community member, because we're so small, we're negotiating each one individually. Some people have tiny homes on trailers, some have RVs, some don't have anything. So we have to decide where are they going to live. Some people come with money, some people come with no money, but we would like them. So we have to do some kind of a work exchange. So each member is right now accepted on a one-on-one basis.
Great. Good. Thank you. Sounds like a great way of life. I think that's about all the time we have for questions, because I want to give enough time for Dan and his presentation, but we'll circle back at the end to a broader Q&A. And Richard, if you could check out the Q&A box, you have a lot more questions there. So if you wouldn't mind maybe typing out some answers, that would be wonderful. And yeah, now we'll go to Dan. Thank you for being here and also waiting patiently. How do you pronounce the name of your community?
Maitreya. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, well, Maitreya. Maitreya it's a Sanskrit word that means friendship and loving kindness. And I just connected with the word years ago, and I just thought, wow, kind of like the Dalai Lama said. He said, my religion is kindness. I just thought if we could just start with friendship and loving kindness, most of our problems are solved.
Sounds like a great place to start.
Yeah, well, the project started, I'm the founder. It started out of a holistic perspective. It's not a very far leap to go from holistic health to living in nature. So over the years, I just realized that we're not supposed to breathe in all the chemicals of a typical house that has formaldehyde, glues, and we're really supposed to be in nature. It was really maybe born out of a couple of things, to be philosophical about it. Henry David Thoreau, as well as Charles Eisenstein, is one of my heroes. Henry David Thoreau said, simplify, simplify, simplify. And that really resonated with me. And being a holistic chiropractor, I developed 2 axioms that not only from my experience as a holistic practitioner, but also I lived with a couple of indigenous communities. And my experience with them is that, or what I gleaned from that experience is that we're genetically hardwired to have a relationship with the land. I don't think you can be happy, I don't think you can be contented, healthy, whole, if you don't have a relationship with your food source and the land around you. And then the other part is that I think you cannot happy, healthy, whole, contented, unless you have a relationship with God. So it's really, Maitreya Mountain Village is born out of those two ideas. And so I bought some land, and the land is important. For me, I wanted to be completely, I thought that to the degree that we are independent of all of these systems, the industrial monetary system, in all of its dysfunction and unsustainability, to the degree that we are independent from it is really the degree of our freedom and even our health and wholeness. And so we're completely off grid. We have a very strong water source. We live in the air in the rainforest. So I think we average 110 inches of rain per year, a little different than yours in Texas. I don't know, what do you get, maybe 15 or 20 inches of rain out in Texas? Maybe you can't hear me. So we have a plentiful water supply, and we live actually in a unique setting where we're in the mountains. We're in the densely forested, rugged terrain of the Siskiyou Mountains. So while there's some disadvantages to that, all of our water comes from springs, and they run year round. So that combined with 6 months of the year being heavy rains, we have all the water we need pretty much forever. And beyond that, the Maitreya Mountain Village, I did a pretty thorough study of communities before I started this project. I visited 27 communities. I talked to about 140 communities. And I noticed that the ones that did well had a strong unifying theme. And our unifying theme is already set in stone. That is to live sustainably. And so the objective from the beginning was to be self-sufficient in all the ways that we can. We have not only gravity-fed water from springs, but solar panels. We actually have very few electrical needs. Our refrigerators and freezers run off our PV system, our photovoltaic system. And beyond that, we use composting toilets. We have our actual land itself. Let's see here. We have really rich natural resources. I just realized I could share my screen. We live in the Smith River Basin. It's California's only undammed river system. We have the redwoods, the ocean. We have, because we're in the rainforest, we have a really abundant mushroom source. About 5, 6, 7 months a year, you could have a very large percentage of your food source from mushrooms. And then the natives in our area got most of their calories from acorns. And about every third tree is a tan oak, and we collect acorns and make. In fact, one of my favorite. We made a lot of things from acorns this year, but my favorite is what we make a biscuit. It has our huckleberries from our huckleberry bushes, our chicken's eggs. We have honeybees that provide us with the honey, milk from our goats, and then our acorns. It makes a little stone type of biscuit. But the combination of a really rich natural fauna that we can forage, as well as a lot of medicinals that are all around us. The combination of our goats, chickens, ducks, we have 130 fruit and nut trees, and about 200 berry bushes in combination with tens of thousands of huckleberry bushes. We could feed, I don't know how many, 25, 30 people, maybe much more who live more primitively, but it's a very abundant and rich natural surrounding that we live in. Let's go see some pictures here of chickens. We've done some alternative building. Rob Roy, who writes all the contemporary books on cordwood masonry, came out and did a workshop at our place. This is our storage pavilion that we did some cordwood masonry in. Can you see those pictures?
Yep, they look great.
Okay, good. There's
Nice.
Jill doing some cordwood masonry. It's kind of a joke at our place. Every flat surface, this one's not that flat, is an opportunity for a tile mosaic. Can you guess the constellation? It's a zodiac constellation. Does anybody know? You win a free goat if you guess it.
Anyone out there? Anyone want to put in the chat? Oh, Aquarius, Leslie.
It's Aquarius, exactly.
Nice.
Yeah. So we do a lot of art. This is our first little greenhouse. And all the tile, we try to reuse use recycled and donated materials. So we have literally tons of ceramic tile that we try to make things beautiful where we can. This is a part of our garden here by our little greenhouse. More of our artwork. You can see that the terrain is is densely forested and mountainous. We've built 17 structures in 13 years. This is a hobbit hole. It's an underground hobbit hole. We rent this out. A little round hobbit bed. Has a round hobbit door. We have found that the ecotourism has really fit. We've rented 5 cabins out on Airbnb, and it funds a lot of projects and supports a lot of people. I think we had 80,000 in revenue last year, a little over 80,000. And it not only brings in revenue, but boy, it really fit the bill. It's a great recruitment tool. We have Airbnb guests that come for a week or 3 days, and they end up staying for a year, year and a half sometimes. And we are 5 miles deep into the national forest, so we're a little bit isolated. You could say that we're isolated, but it just the kind of person that wants to come and rent a cabin out in the middle of nowhere is our people. I mean, there are nature, campy, outdoorsy, holistic people. And so because Airbnb is so international, we have people come from all over the world. We had 1,100 reservations last year. And, I don't know, at least a couple, 2,000-3,000 people that came through, and largely, I don't know, there's lots of people, all different kinds, but largely they're a joy. They're really interesting and enjoyable, and in fact, it's even more social than I wanted it to be sometimes. That's a hobbit hole. All of our landscaping is edible, almost all. We have a few rose bushes and some flowers and passion flower and such, but everywhere we terrace, there's grapevines and berry bushes, rosemary and herbs, and it's pretty plentiful. We have a community center. This is our Hygge Hall. It has a nice wood stove, and we cook and congregate here. We have a 2,700 square foot lodge. That's what this building is. Yep. It's a 16-sided, earth-sheltered living roof, kind of modeled after Rob Roy's round cordwood masonry building, if you've ever seen it. It is efficient. we try to create water systems wherever we go. We have 3 pond systems. It just brings a lot of life. The frogs in this little pond is definitely in the spring here in a couple of months. That's it. How do you unshare?
If you move your mouse around, you should be able to see a button. I can probably help you out too. Just a second.
Stop share. Yep. Okay, good.
Okay. Good.
Yes. Questions?
Yeah, there are questions. And thank you so much, Dan. Those are beautiful photos. I'm very inspired by those natural buildings and just the mountains in the distance and the terrace. And
This is a greenhouse, an earth-sheltered greenhouse. Oh, let's see.
what a location up there on that cliff. Oh my gosh.
This is a pond we built in the greenhouse. Oh, I wish I had a. Yeah, it's completed now. We have it enclosed with glass, and there's 7 tropical trees in it. This was during our construction. It's on one of our terraces.
Oh, amazing. Great. Well, this seems like another excellent place for those of you who want a vacation in an intentional community. You can have your pick, Texas, California.
Anyways, that's our fun little greenhouse. It's really a beautiful structure. And we're building, we always have projects going on. We're building a cob oven right now. But another unique aspect of our community is that we agree to no chemical dependencies. So we have a health focus. It's not that we don't drink alcohol every once in a great while. Somebody has a glass of wine or something, but there's no smoking and we don't have any chemical dependencies is one of our community agreements. And maybe the other noteworthy distinction of our community is that I just believe that very few people, Americans anyways, are equipped to live in community. I don't think we have the basic values or skills. And so we practice them. And we model a meeting that we have every week. I didn't invent it. Llama Foundation has a heart club every week. And so we have a heart club in which we use mostly NVC. Mostly we use NVC, nonviolent communication skills, where we practice feelings and needs. We have an opportunity to express authentically and vulnerably, and to really to build trust is the main objective of our heart club. It has other elements in it that I gleaned from my experiences with the Human Awareness Institute. But in the end, you know, if you're going to live in community, you just need the basic. Well, an NVC sounds so simple. Do you know NVC, Cynthia?
Yeah, non-violent.
Yeah, it sounds so easy and it's so hard. It's so difficult in the midst of passionate emotions to practice, you know, that type of compassionate communication. And so I just really believe that we need to practice it on a daily basis. So that's what we do. And of all the things that, you know, we live sustainably, completely sustainably on the land. We have a lot of great things going for us, but of all the things that people have written me back, you know, a year later after an experience, or 3 years or 5 years, is they write me back and express appreciation for our heart club. They'll say, you know, wow, I brought it to my family at Thanksgiving dinner, and we shared vulnerably and, appreciations and withholds, or, we have little exercises that we do that we make up every week, and or they brought it to their friends or their workplace even, and it really can be a profound experience. Not many people, I have found, are used to sharing vulnerably in a really honest, responsible way with a group of people. So yeah, it can be profound.
Yes, I love that your community does that and has been able to benefit other people through that work. And we do have some questions for you. So, how many people live in the community year-round?
6 people.
6. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
We
amazing.
just opened it up to long-term membership.
Oh.
It's been me and people have participated in a variety of capacities. We've had people come just 2 or 3 weekends every year. Some people come for a month during the summer and spend the summer. Like a couple of teachers that during their free summers come and spend time. And work traders, but now we have long-term members and membership opportunities in that way. You can be an owner member, an investor member, or a work trader.
Great. And then another question, is the community or a part of the community set up as a nonprofit or as a business for the purposes of running the Airbnb?
It's not a nonprofit. There's no trust. We just run our Airbnb, and it goes into our general fund, and we spend all of our money that way. All of it.
All right, great. And let's see, I think you touched on that. Do you have a resource for someone who wants to learn more about NVC or the Heart Club?
A resource for learning about Heart Club?
Yeah, or NVC.
Well, I always direct. We have 5 or 6 copies of Marshall Rosenberg's book on nonviolent communication, and we recommend people read that either prior or when they arrive. We have a bunch of videos of Marshall Rosenberg wielding that skill artfully, but I think those are the main resources. Yeah.
Great. And you had mentioned that the Heart Club idea came from Lama Foundation in New Mexico. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. My good friend of mine had spent a summer there and brought that to Maitreya Mountain Village, and we've modified it. We have an itinerary for our weekly meeting that includes sharing acknowledgements and admissions. Then we share appreciations and withholds in certain Human Awareness Institute format. We have a requests and agreements, growth opportunities, and personal highlights for that week. And then we have our heart share that we finished up with. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Dan. There are some more questions for you in the Q&A box. So if you are able to find that and want to type in answers, that would be wonderful. And yeah, I just want to appreciate each of you for your presentations. And I am noticing some themes throughout all of your different communities. They're all in different parts of the world, but they're all, maybe on the smaller side, focused on self-sufficiency and simplicity. And you all welcome guests and volunteers. So it's just interesting to see how similar that is, given your unique geographies and environments and cultures. But yet you're striving for something similar. It's beautiful. Yeah, appreciate you in that work. And I have a question for all of you. So we're going to move into this next part of our program here, where we're going to be having just more conversation amongst ourselves. Feel free, everyone watching, to put in questions that you think would be relevant for all of our speakers and might benefit everyone here. I noticed that many of our people in the audience are starting communities themselves. And since you all are community founders or co-founders, what advice would you give to someone in the very beginning stages? So maybe like go back in your mind to those early years. What do you wish somebody had told you? What do you wish you had done, or you're glad that you did? Just popcorn out anything that comes to mind that you could pass off to future community founders.
Sure, I can answer some of that. It's been way harder than I expected. And in the beginning, I thought if I created a community, people would just show up and everything would be fine. And I was totally shocked when we attracted, I'm almost afraid to say this, but one of the people that came was a child pornographer. And it quickly became clear that we needed a really serious vetting system on who would come. I was totally naive when I started this. And it's going to take all of your energy and all of your money if you're starting at a single person like I was. And but I'm 72 years old, and I feel that civilization is really on the wrong track. And I tried to do a transition town movement. I did a community garden. I tried to do things politically. And I finally realized that the only way I could make an impact personally would be to start a community. But as I said, it was just so hard. And the other thing we found is that people come here, they treat us as a vacation. And we have to have a really strong vetting process to make sure that they want to work hard. Because to build these buildings and create this farm is a huge amount of work. And so many people have been asked to leave because they wouldn't work hard enough. So I personally am working really hard to make it work. When I get people that come and don't give anywhere near what I think is a fair energy exchange, that was a really big shock to me. And so we've learned a lot, and our questionnaire is quite elaborate at this point. And, you know, it weeds out a lot of people that wouldn't fit right away. So between the Zoom meeting and the questionnaire, we found that really good for vetting people for coming to our community. Thanks.
Yeah, I would concur. My input would be very similar in that you need an excellent application. You know, there's a bit of a catch-22 of people who have, we're talking about toward people who are just starting community. People who have had communities, they all know this, that there's a bit of a catch-22. If someone is a potent, whole, healthy, you know, potent citizen of the world, they're going to do it on their own. That means they worked hard enough and saved some money, and if they're a potent creator, they're going to start something and try to attract other people. There's a kind of a situation of too many chiefs and too little Indians, and I think that application process to find the people who aren't going to bring a bunch of drama, who are really congruent. It's a needle in a haystack. It really is a needle in a haystack. And I know at Maitreya Mountain Village, one of, as I've mentioned before, maybe the best thing that we ever did was to agree to a community agreement to no chemical dependencies. Before we attracted every pot smoking hippie for 100 miles in the early days when I opened it up, and anybody who applied could show up. It was a whole different scenario. And I went to a few different communities that accepted anybody. If you applied, you were in. And they were disasters. They were disasters. Just addiction abounded. People chain smoking, waking up, you know, with hangovers, drama. Oh, it was. And when we, you know, on our application, we asked, you know, are you willing to? Do you have a history with addiction? Are you willing to agree to live free of chemical dependencies? When we did that, the entire nature of the kind of person that showed up or even applied completely changed.
Wow. Okay, great. Well, those are two very practical pieces of advice around making sure you have a good vetting process. Thank you. And Nara, what would you say as advice for a new community founder?
Oof. I think like community is a roller coaster, and it's you need a good stomach, you know, to go up and down through all the tribulations. Human nature is unavoidable, and it pops up in some way. And I mean, if you surround yourself with people who think the same like you, then you get this uniform environment with it's dead in a way. So when you go for diversity, it brings dynamics, and that brings so much joy and beauty and so much learning as well. And that's the challenge that we like communitarians have to create such environments, because the society needs this as a place for experimentation, healing, creating these pockets of future society. That's how I see it. And I don't know, these are things thoughts that emerge in my mind, and I wouldn't like, in terms of advice, I'm cautious giving advice because, as I said before, community work is so diverse and so big that you have to be very careful in trying to generalize, because you have to fit every advice or every to a situation that's present in that moment in time in that particular space. So that's how I see it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. Each community is so unique and different. It's a really good.
Another piece of advice, and that would be, I mean, community. You know, I think it's romanticized, and people say, "Oh, community is where it's at," and community is a pain in the ass. And I think if we lower our expectations, I mean, right now with the people that we have at Maitreya Mountain Village, we have harmony. Everybody gets along great. It's a really rich and healthy environment. But we've had our share of drama, and I think you need to lower your expectations. If you're expecting perfect harmony and everybody comes together and we all sing Kumbaya, you will be disappointed. If you lower your expectations, and not only lower your expectations, but realize that there is a rich learning experience in the process of conflict resolution. And you know, I wrote an article called "Efficiency versus Humanity." You know, when people don't feel heard, and you have to go into their pain and their fears, and you take the time to treat people because like dictatorships, communism is efficient. You just bark out orders and, you know, you rule with an iron fist. That's super efficient. You have to give up some efficiency and actually just address people as human beings. And in the course of that, it is such a rich learning experience that in the end, even though community is a pain in the ass, it's worth it. That's my advice.
I would like to say something. So we were asked the question, somebody on the far political left, would they be welcome at our ranch? Because I'm sure we came across sounding like radical Republicans. So I would like to qualify. It's interesting that me, Diana, and Lance were far left. And when I ran Transition Town, I was really into solar panels, electric cars, all of that stuff. And that was being championed by the far left. Some things have happened since then, and I'm sure you probably know what I'm talking about, that changed our minds. But we didn't move from far left to far right. What we did is we became apolitical. At Lightning Ranch, some of us feel that we're beyond political solutions, and we don't engage politically, but we try to make our statements through what we're doing on the ranch with our natural building, with our farming and things like that. We are surrounded by radical right Republicans who think that we're left radical Democrats, and they really have no clue what's going on. But whenever you use the word community in Texas, it immediately goes to communism. We've been labeled communists, and I personally have been labeled with multiple wives. It has nothing to do with reality. So we're up against radical right Republicans, so I can't say we're that at all. And as I said, some of us are apolitical at this point. I just wanted to clarify that because it's a really interesting question that we were asked in the question section. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that forward. And it is so interesting. You know, we're living in increasingly polarized times, and at this event we bring all kinds of communities on. And I think to Nara's point earlier, one of the beautiful things, difficult but beautiful things about community is that we can be in that conversation and learning from each other and keeping the communication channels open while also holding the boundary and having a vetting process and staying true to your values. It's a very interesting skill.
Okay.
May I just say something as a point of a difference? When it's community and how it sounds in the US, in my country, if you say community, it would come across as, oh, this is some kind of radical spiritual community. Some, like, it could be Christianity or some New Age thing, just because of the association of the word in our context. So hard to generalize and say what it means, you know, and then even like bringing the meaning of community to a more neutral ground, or have it understood as what it really is in a way, in all diversity. That is a big challenge for our time.
Aw. Well, we're just about wrapping up our time together, and I really appreciate each of you for sharing about your community, for taking the time out of your day to be here, and for this conversation we're having here at the end. I think that there's a lot more to just keep going and talking. And I really want to appreciate everyone who joined in and asked those wonderful questions. I did put into the chat our evaluation form. I would love to know what you thought about this event. And also if you have ideas for other communities you've been looking at on the communities directory, and you're like, I'm curious about this one, let me know. I'll invite them. We'll have them on next month. Although I have to mention, we're actually going to be skipping the month of February. I'm taking a little vacation, but we will be back again for our monthly virtual tour in March. Yeah, and thank you so much, Dan and Nara and Richard's other community members. Yeah, just really appreciate all of you, and we can unmute and say our goodbyes.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.